as a crystal. A crystal is a solid, shiny substance or solid, shiny material, naturally made material. So the scout came back with this discovery, with this crystal, and they gave it, of course, to the queen, to the ant queen. When the queen eat a small bite of it, she likes it, then she ate the entire crystal, and she said that this was the most delicious thing she had ever eat. So then the scout went back to the crystal place where they found the crystal to get more crystals for the queen. And it was dark at night when they went to get her the crystal. It was late at day, sorry. When they came back, two ants decided to stay there. Two small ants decided to stay there. They said, why shall we go home? We want to stay here and eat as much as we want from this crystal. They kept on eating and eating until they fell asleep in the sugar jar. And in the morning, the human who is living in the house wake up. He want to drink coffee. So he put a giant scoop inside the sugar jar and took a full spoon of sugar, and the two ants were inside this spoon. Then the two ants are now swimming in a boiling brown lake. Open page 478, 478 on the reading. Okay. Now the two ants are swimming in the giant brown lake. See how the author is describing everything as a giant thing, but for us it is normal. The coffee is not a lake for us, right? But why did the sugar jar is not like a big and a huge thing of a crystal? It is a normal sugar jar, but for the ants, everything is huge. Why? Because the ants are so small in size, so tiny in size. That's why whenever the author is describing something here, he or she describe it from point of view, from how the ant sees it, not from our point of view, not from how we see it. No, from how the ants see it. Okay, so 478, then the giant scoop. See, the giant scoop for us, it is a normal spoon. But for the ants, it's a giant scoop because they are small. It's raining outside. Then the giant scoop stirred violently back and forth. Crushing waves fell over the ants. Crushing waves, the coffee waves, as if they are in a big ocean, not a big lake. They paddled hard to keep their tiny heads above water, but the scoop kept spinning the hot brown liquid. Around and around it went, creating a whirlpool that sucked the ants deeper and deeper. They both held their breath and finally bobbed to the surface, gasping for air and spitting mouthfuls of the terrible, bitter water. I want you now to describe, I want you to describe, not to describe, sorry, to imagine the two ants inside this big coffee lake. The giant scoop is stirring them. A huge waves were forming around them. Then the waves turned into a whirlpool. You know what is a whirlpool? You know what is a whirlpool? This whirlpool kept pulling the ants deeper and deeper into inside the water. What is the water? The coffee. And both of them, I'll show you a picture of a whirlpool. 478, not 476, okay? And both the two ants were struggling to keep their tiny heads above the water so they can breathe. Finally, at the end, whoever was making the coffee for him or herself stopped stirring the sugar, and the waves stopped, and now the ants at the surface of the coffee or of the lake, gasping for air, doing like this, you know, when you are underwater for a long time. I'll show you a picture of a whirlpool. You know what it is like. This is a whirlpool. See? This is a whirlpool on the sea. When you stir the coffee, you will have a whirlpool. For the two ants, this was a whirlpool. Okay? Okay, next page. 479. Then the lake tilted, it bent. It was about like when you want to spill the water, you will tilt the water bottle so the water will spill in the ground. Then the lake tilted and began to empty into a cave. So a cave now is swallowing the coffee. What do you think was the cave is? What do you think is the cave for the ants? The lake, the water, the lake was emptied inside a cave, a dark cave. What is a cave? Yeah, it is raining outside. What do you think was the cave? Human's mouth. Excellent, ya Narsin. Someone now is drinking the coffee. Excellent, Yasmin. So now the two ants are seeing a big cave. The coffee is going inside a big cave. The ants could hear the rushing water and felt themselves pulled toward the pitch black hole. There inside the cave there was a big black dark hole, and the ants felt like they are going inside. They were pushing, and someone was pushing them to go inside this big hole. Suddenly the cave disappeared and the lake became calm. The man drank only one sip of coffee and put the coffee cup back. Suddenly the cave disappeared and the lake became calm. The ants swam to the shore and found that the lake had steep sides. See, those are the two ants. This is a mustache, so the one who's drinking is a man. This is the cave, the black cave for the ants. See how the illustrator drew everything for us? He drew the mouth of like a giant mouth. But if we look at his mouth, it will not be a giant mouth. But for those two tiny ants, everything is giant and huge. So now they are inside the cup of coffee, and they were going inside a big hole, big black hole. When the man put the coffee cup down, they swam to the shore. What is a shore? The edge of the cup, the edge of the cup. Okay, then hurried down the walls. So now they climbed up the cup and they went down the walls of the cup that held back the lake. The frightened insects looked for a place to hide, worried that the giant scoop might shovel them up again. So now they are worried about the shovel scoop, but something more dangerous than the scoop, the giant scoop will happen to them. So they were running, looking for a place to hide because they were worried that the giant scoop will come back to them again. Close by, they found a huge round disc with holes that could neatly hide them. They found something inside a hole, so they thought that we could go and hide there. See, those are the two ants when they escaped from the cup of the coffee. See how big is the cup of the coffee? Let's see, where did they go to hide now? They hide inside a toaster, but they were at the surface of the bread. Okay? Because the man is preparing breakfast for himself. But as soon as they had climbed inside their hiding place, where it was lifted, tilted, and lowered into a dark space. So the man was putting 2 slides of a toast bread inside the toaster. Here, this is the bread, this is the place where they wanted to go. The 2 ants landed at the top of the toast of the bread. Then suddenly someone pushed these 2 things that they were standing on inside another big hole. When the ants climbed out of the holes, they were surrounded by a strange red glow. It seemed to them that every second the temperature was rising. It soon became so unbearably hot, and they thought that they would soon be cooked. But suddenly, the desk they were standing on rocketed upward, and the 2 hot ants went flying through the air. So look back at the picture. Where are they standing? They are standing at the top of the bread, not inside the toaster itself. So when they got inside, when someone pushed them inside the 2 big holes, what happened? Suddenly a red light or a red glow came around them, and then the temperature was becoming higher and higher, and they felt that they will be cooked soon. But before they were cooked, the thing that they were standing on rised up very quickly, like when the toast is ready from the toaster, it will pop out of the toaster, right? So this is what happened. They popped out of the toaster, and because the force was very big or very strong, the 2 ants fly into the air. Did you understand? Can you imagine everything that is happening to the 2 ants? Yeah? Is it easy for you to imagine? Poor little ants? No, it's not poor if you find them in your kitchen. Imagine finding 2 ants inside your coffee. It's disgusting. You throw your coffee away. But the author is describing them as too tiny, is describing the story from their point of view. So we can feel sorry for them because everything is weird, strange, giant for them. Okay, let's read the last page for today. 182. They landed near what seemed to be a fountain, a waterfall pouring from a silver tube. So now they flew from the air, and where did they land? They landed into a silver tube, and there was a waterfall coming down from the silver tube. For us, it is a faucet. This is a faucet, right? For the 2 bad ants, a faucet with normal water running. But for the 2 ants, it's a giant silver tube, and it has a waterfall. Okay? So they landed near what seemed to be a fountain or a waterfall pouring from a silver tube. Both ants had a powerful thirst. Both of them were so thirsty and so hot, and they wanted something cool so they can dip their head inside it. So both ants had a powerful thirst and longed to dip their feverish heads into the refreshing water. They quickly climbed along the tube. As they got closer to the rushing water, the ants felt a cool spray. They were getting closer, as here they were feeling a cooling spray. They tightly gripped the shiny surface of the fountain and slowly leaned their head into the falling stream. But the force of the water, of course, was much too strong. Now they will land into another dangerous place. But we will stop here. So, what were the dangerous events that the two ants went through? First, they were inside a sugar jar and a giant scoop shoveled them up. Second, they were struggling to swim into a boiling brown lake. The third danger, that they landed into a very hot place and they felt like they were cooked. Then the fourth danger was the water. They thought that they could easily put their head inside the water to drink and to cool their heads down because they were so hot from the toaster. But the water was very strong for their size and it pushed them down. Okay? Okay? Did you understand? Do you have any question? Okay, now go back to page 478. Start reading, yeah, Suhair. Let me just open, yeah, Suhair.
Then the giant scoop stirred.
Yes, violently.
Violently back and forth, crushing waves fell over the ants. They paddled hard to keep their tiny heads above water, but the scoop kept spinning the hot brown liquid. Around and around it went, creating a whirlpool that sucked the ants deeper and deeper. They both held their breath and finally
Popped.
bobbed to the surface, gasping for air and spitting mouthfuls of terrible bitter water.
Thank you very much.